Well, good day, my friends. It's your old pal Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? I hope you said great. We're coming to you from ELY, Minnesota. We're gonna visit the home of the root beer lady today. Daze of Jordan the Lion and you all. It begins right now. That's right, for 56 years, a woman named Dorothy Moltour lived up here in the North Woods, up here on Knife Lake, and she was basically the first aid person in this area, and she was also known for making her own root beer. So people would stop by, they would say up to 5,000–7,000 people a year, either in canoes or by car, to come and meet her and to come and get her root beer. It all started for her actually back in 1930 with a fishing trip up here while she was going to nursing school with her father and stepmother and uncles, and she just fell in love with the area. Now it's only open seasonally, so it's open from Memorial Day to Labor Day. $7 admission. They're gonna show us, it's actually a series of 3 islands out here. She would live on one during the winter months and then one during the nicer months, and she would rent her other place out to ice fishers and everything like that. As if anyone wants to remember why, I just assume they would remember me for all the various kinds of help I have given them. She did. She helped a lot of people in her time. That was her sole purpose for being up here. She would do everything herself. Hunting, fishing. When she was in high school, she won a rifleman competition, so she had that going for her. And she never married because she said she would only marry someone who was stronger and could do more than her, and she never found that.
It shows exactly where this cabin setup was. It's not close to...
Alright, this should be fun. Isle of Pines. It's a pretty expansive area. This was the winter cabin. As I told you, she had 2 different ones. So it's showing a little bit about the life on the lake. You can see she used to do that too. It was called snowshoeing for exercise. Skiing, canoeing. Look at that, that's kind of cool. So basically what happened was she was heading to becoming a nurse, and then the Great Depression hit and it was hard to get a job in Chicago where she lived, so she ended up deciding to come back to here, which is what she loved, and got a job helping out. This was a resort, so we're gonna see several cabins. There's I think 3 cabins remaining of the cabins that she had and cared for up here, and she would basically help care for it. A man owned this property and she worked here for a couple of years, both helping with the cabins and serving as a nurse, because people would get hurt up here. Like I said, she would administer first aid. This was her winter cabin, and the guy who owned all the property had diabetes, so she helped care for him, and he promised to leave her everything when he passed, and that's what he did. So it says the winter cabin, and they said the summer one, which was actually just a tent. She would just build a tent on the island. It was right on the Canadian border, so about 30 miles away from here. She would actually canoe that. But it said originally built by Bill Berglund. He was the property owner. In the early 1920s, the winter cabin was initially a guest cabin set back from shore off the east bay of the island of Pine, which is exactly where we are. Location of the cabin provided shelter from the westerly winter winds and snow drifting and a beautiful view of the sunset. Cabin became Dorothy's home during the cold months of the year. Today the cabin is filled with hundreds of her personal objects, and is arranged similarly to when Dorothy lived here. Oh, that is cool. I cannot wait to see it. There she is, that same sign. And this cabin is mainly about her root beer making. So we're gonna see her living quarters, and they tell a lot about the root beer. So her root beer was not only really good, but it was kind of famous because a lot of the supplies that she had originally made it with were banned from being imported. So she had to basically bear her recipe down to, or like pare it down to just the essentials. And then a lot of the signs, all this stuff in here, was her original stuff.
One thing about her, she accepted with the environment. And I don't sort of celebrate life.
So she used to stack up used bottles outside the cabin in the winter months when she would make this. And the reason that they really have this displayed is because she lived life on her own terms, basically just doing things that she wanted, being resourceful, and that's really what they want to promote here, that you can really do anything you want, just like she did. See, it would say she already had a multitude of empty pop bottles on her islands, so she just reused them. Used a simple recipe, and then she got a bottling machine. And the sign was like a joke. It said she used to say that to her nieces and nephews, "Quit your belly aching." So somebody made her a sign as a joke. I think it was her brother made this as a joke to have outside her place, like an Indian sign. Some of her snowshoes. People have been coming and going since I've been here, so I'm trying to basically show it to you and not get in their way as well. So, kind of it's like a three-part cabin. This is the front, and then we went into here already, which was like almost like her office and dining room and everything in here, because this is also where she would do the cooking, but then her living quarters. Her dishes. And they have a documentary available in the gift shop. People come here all the time just to get her root beer because they still sell it in the gift shop. Her recipe and everything, so they have a documentary and you can see that while you're here. Pretty cool. Very resourceful her whole life. And she said that she would even go and do refresher courses. So she was always up on modern medicine. She would go take seminars, and she would go basically do everything that you had to make sure that her certificates and everything were current and valid. And she would still go visit her family for Christmas in Chicago. And I asked them if she was buried here, and they said no, actually that's where she is. She wanted to be buried. That was a stipulation of her passing. She would be buried with her mother. Her chairs. Behold the fisherman. That's the old barrel stove. It says the wood had to be located, sawed by hand, loaded into a canoe or boat, unloaded on the island, and then sawed into stove-length pieces, split and stacked. Dorothy would certainly have agreed With the old adage, wood warms you twice. Once while you're putting it up, and once while it burns. She traveled during the winter. It was not uncommon for her to return to a cabin that was colder inside than out. It would have taken 1 to 3 days to warm it up to a comfortable temperature, depending on the weather conditions. Some of her clothes. All right. Here's her bedroom.
What she has done for us through many years. There are 2 characteristics that I found that made Dorothy Moltour the person she was. That was her love and care for those who were in need, and for visitors, and her hospitality. And it was her love for God's created beauty, in which we are in the midst of. Dorothy served and was dedicated to the care of others, as was evidenced by her schooling as a nurse in Chicago. When she came here, her care and concern continued, helping those who were in trouble, inviting those in who needed help, caring for those who were hurt and sick and injured, and simply being here in case we needed her.
Birds.
There was always coffee on, a bottle of root beer, a smile, and a place to rest.
And she's very social.
Indeed, we will miss
They have her, somewhere on the grounds here, they have her scrapbook from when she was in nursing school. And she had photos of a lot of her classmates, so
invited them in.
she got along with a lot of people. Also, why a lot of people love to come out here and see her. Here she is, 1908. So little kid. Sad, her mother died when she was very young. And so because of that, her father was a police chief on the railroad. So he had to have the kids all split up and sent to orphanages in pairs. So she and one of her siblings went to an orphanage for a time until he could get them back and provide for them. So she did not have an easy life. Very cool to see her cabin. They also have another cabin here on the grounds. They have right there. There's an old canoe down there. So let's check this out. This was an original cabin. This has also been converted into a museum. And this is about the area, how the water levels have changed. So we can at least see what the cabin looks like.
We generally put up about 200 cakes of ice. We cover it up with either moss or sawdust or a mixture. And that keeps it,
She was not only nicknamed the Root Beer Lady, but also the Nightingale of the Wilderness. Those were her 2 nicknames.
I didn't have any dirt at all, so wherever I wanted to plant something, then I'd go out and look for some dirt. So I finally thought, so I had some pretty nice flowers up here to kind of surprise everybody. I used to have pop up here, but after the planes quit flying, well, then I discontinued it because I wasn't about to pack pop over the portages. And it's too much of it, and I don't think anybody else would care for the job either. So I had so many root beer bottles on hand. So I kept them for a few years, and finally I was cleaning one day and I ran across those bottles. I was wondering what to do with them. So then we got the idea of making root beer.
So even though Dorothy was given the property as promised by the man who owned it, in 1964 the Wilderness Act came and claimed the property back. The government came and condemned the property, told her she couldn't live here, paid her for the property and told her she had to leave. but she was so well loved here that her friends started a petition to get her to be allowed to stay, and so the government ended up giving in, letting her stay here. They said that she couldn't charge anyone for the resort, but she figured out a way around it by just leaving donation jars around, so people would still come up here, still stay, and then just leave their money in a donation jar. And she lived up here until 1986 when she died. So this is a start of Dorothy's Trail. Little nature walk that you can do while you're here. And this will take us to, as I mentioned, the replica outhouse that she would have had, and an additional cabin. They said that the door does not open, so don't bother. Cool little experience. I love this kind of stuff. People that just live on their own rules, and all these people came out, heard about it, what she was doing, and wanted to meet her. This also is a little museum cabin dedicated to the history of the boundary waters and how they've changed here as well. So that's a photo of Bill Berglund, the man who owned the property. He owned the Isle of Pines resort. Bought it in the early 1920s. He bought 9.5 acres. I'm not gonna go in because I'm not all that interested so much in the water level part of it, but we will head back, kind of see a little bit of the area, see what she loved about it, and then we'll head back and check out the gift shop, because I love root beer and I'm really excited to try it. I've heard it's really good. So if you're in the area and you just want to try the root beer, you can just pop into the gift shop. Pretty sure during the season that it's open, like I mentioned, from Memorial Day to Labor Day. I believe they're open every day. There are the cabins we've already seen. For you nature walk lovers. This was the first one. This was the winter cabin, to give you an idea how big it is on the outside. Oh, I shall. I shall.
Here
Here, you can even buy a full case.
So they would mail in reservations. That's where
I think I'm gonna get a 6-pack.
4 in total, and then in the summer cabins during the summer. And
So there really weren't very many.
So that's the documentary you want to check out, Living in the Boundary Waters. So they have a few of these on display inside the gift shop. We saw some in her home. This was one of her hobbies, was creating these boxes. Just trying to show you the best I can without getting my reflection, but even like a kid's book. All right, I am excited to see what this tastes like. Dorothy, I can't wait to see what you produced, what you invented here. That's actually one of the best ones I've ever had, to be honest. Wow. Woo! I like how the label's not even straight too, so you know it was like handmade. Fantastic. I highly recommend it. Highly, highly recommend it. This was a lot of fun today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to try some, quit your belly aching, go to therootbeerlady.com right there and get it and try it. Dorothy's Isle of Pines root beer. Wonderful stuff. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you Angel Sutton for becoming my newest Patreon, helping to support these adventures. If you'd like to join, go to patreon.com/JordanTheLion. I'll send you postcards or various other goodies. Thank you all. We'll see you next time. Have a great night and goodbye.